What is up, guys, and welcome to Crushing Small Stakes PLO. We're playing some 25 cent on Ignition. And we have a hand here against a weak limper, pretty high VPIP. So I'm quite happy playing this pot in position. I'm just going to fold the 3-bet here with the single suited non-nutted. High cards, we're going to be dominated a lot. Calling out of position 100 big blinds deep. I don't really want to have sort of like weak ace-king hands. I'd rather have like double single suited rundowns, or at least nut suits to the ace. This is like the ultimate non-GTO move, just because I obviously unblock the diamonds, but also make it more likely that my opponents have diamonds by holding hearts and spades. But when you kind of face players like this, they often play very straightforward, and a lot of them just want a better flush on the flop. But now that we're this shallow with this guy, and this guy called, we're just going to check behind. We have some outs that could be good, but I am pretty much dead in this spot always. Probably see a jam from this guy with like a jack-high flush or something that he was a little timid with on the flop, rightly so, out of position to two people. Standard 3-bet here with the double suited aces. So we do get the call, we'll see a showdown. Let's see who has the flush. Oh, here's the nuts. Makes more sense. And this guy called it up with a set and a diamond blocker, so definitely want to play some pots with this guy. And this is the dream scenario where this guy shoves back over the top with two cold callers behind, and we can now stack off with some nice double suited aces. We will isolate this weaker player in position. The ace king queen. And this guy stacks off too, so this guy shouldn't fold. But there you go. Trying to fade some clubs. And did we? Yeah, we faded the straight too. Scoop it. Not pass second, not flush draw here, no backup. It would really suck to get check raised in this position. So I'm just going to check behind. I mean, two pairs, probably good on turns. It's not a great card, but it's a smaller pot now. We can potentially call this turn. I don't even like it, really. I mean, it's a large bet. So realistically, at this point, we're saying our best. We have 9 outs, so close to 20% equity. And we need 30% to call, so he would have to be bluffing a portion into two people with a 91% VPIP. I just don't like it. This guy's very active. This could be a spot to squeeze, but honestly, we'll likely end up going 3 or 4 way with some not great kings. So I'm actually just going to call behind, and we will be check folding the flop. If you think you have fold equity here with kings and you can get this heads up when it's 3 people that kind of call like that, then I think it makes sense to raise. But the only person that's really folding, or looks like they potentially fold with their stats, is this guy, who would be the last to act. So, you know, let's say I raise and there's 2 callers. There's not many hands that he's folding. It's also short, it could jam back over the top, which would actually be okay for us. But yeah, just likely to have a 4-way flop like we see, and then with some pretty raw kings, we're going to be check folding most of the time. A little bit better suited kings over here. I am again just going to call behind. This guy has a pretty high VPIP, but you can see that his pre-flop raise range is actually relatively narrow, not out of line. So there's going to be some pretty strong hands there under the gun with an open raising range. I'm going to defend this from the cup, and we flop decently. No real betting leading range here, defending out the big blind on an inside board, so we will check full range. And I don't really want to raise fold this. We have some very good equity against hands like ace, queen, aces that are just going to jam, and we have a very marginal draw. So if we do end up getting the chips in the middle, we are probably struggling. So I think it just makes sense to check call here. Turn 2 pair with a straight blocker. This is going to be a card that's actually pretty good for our range. So I now could see some leads. It just depends. We're just going to fold here. It just depends whether we want to turn our hand into a bluff at this point, because we have very good equity. Yeah, I think we're just going to check. And against the min bet, this is nearly always weakness. So I am actually going to raise now. We get jammed on, and we fold. And it was the... This bet is usually split, maybe... That's not a good river. This bet is usually split between like 90% scared and 10% trying to induce a raise. So having a very weak hand here, no jack, blocking spades, blocking every pair, I think we just want to give up at this point. Maybe he checks down a missed flush draw, a nut flush draw, with the ace of spades and only one pair, but I think that we just want to check at this point. We'll raise these pretty ugly aces. And I would usually fold these, but in this setting we are going to raise. And he did have a weak 2 pair on the turn, so as you can see with that bet, I mean, he has no business calling a turn raise there. I don't think he had spades, but ace, jack, jack 10 against the cutoff. I will be 3-betting. And we get the min raise. We're obviously calling with kings, knowing that we'll be check folding most flops. Not this flop though. This board, 3-way, out of position, is going to be pretty much checking full range. We're going to have very heavy aces range, and this is going to definitely hit the raise calling range. Here I'm just going to check. Could check raise. I mean, and we're just going to check fold. This is like the best case scenario. So we can get it in with okay equity with very poor playability. And we turn the nizzles, and with a heart blocker and club blockers, I mean, I still want to bet pretty large here. There are a lot of draws out there. I could just go pot. Let's go 75%. Here we flop top 2 and a gut shot 2 backdoor flush. Sorry, top and bottom, gut shot 2 backdoor flush draws. I think this is a board that I'm going to bet at a high frequency, and so we will lead in position. We're in the cutoff here, so go with this. Oh wait, we had 3 pair on the flop. Likely against ace. I mean, he's repping ace 10 or or better. We flop a pair and then not flush draw. Yeah, I mean, we're not folding. That is a very unfortunate turn. And we did check back here. We turn. Open-ender still with enough flush draw on a pass. We're not going to be folding. And did not mean to 3-bet here. That is sometimes happens when you are trying to talk through hands as well as play, and know that you're going to make some misclicks. We do not get rewarded on the flop unless we hit that gut shot. So he bets very small on the river here. I just don't think we can fold for this sizing, but don't expect to win much. Yeah. Could potentially bluff that, but we just have too much showdown value, I think. Get check 2 in position here. This is where the misclick becomes very expensive. I'm just gonna check back. I think we have some valuable turn cards that we can hit. That's not a great one, but it's one that we'll certainly bluff on if we get checked to. Blocking the straight and the pair. Against the pot size bet though. It's just a very dicey spot to be raising. On this board though, it really does feel like 8-8. Because why would you just pot size jam? What hand would you have? Would you pot with 8-10? You could jam over the top and run into 8-10, but I think we save it for another day. Very, very suspicious of that bet though. It's just a very dry board. Doesn't make too much sense to pot that. We'll complete here. And check fold flop. I'm just gonna be kind of barreling up on this. King and queen is like a great blockers to have on this board. We don't need the ace. You know, given that he didn't 3-bet pre-flop, so kings and queens are actually like the best blockers that we can have here. I mean, he raises, but don't see too many continues there. Just gonna go for a pot size bet. With these kinds of players that are passive, kind of have to build the pot yourself. So, think about what kind of hands he's going to call with on the turn. He raised under the gun. He could have ace 3. 3-6 is not really much in his range, so it would be something like ace 3, ace 3-3. I think that he's raising with queens at some point, and we unblock like 10-jack type of hands, so we could try and check call. But he could just have like kings and just try and hero. We bet smaller, I guess. The call with aces or kings, maybe. Tempted to call the raise here if he does raise. So if you are playing small stacks, you always want to be aware of the rake, and cannot stress that enough. And you want to see how much you are actually paying. You can get estimates from other people, but it's going to be very dependent on a lot of different factors in terms of your style of play: short stack, deep stack, more aggressive, loose, passive. So you want to get an actual tracking tool, and it will show you your actual reg pad in BB per 100, and you can go from there and determine how much you actually have to beat the game by in order to make money. So if I was playing small stacks, it's going to be very tough on Ignition. This is just because this is all I have access to at the moment. We are going to call here with the double suited, somewhat connected 10s and 6s. But I'm paying 18, 20 BB 100 in rake, and that means that I have to be beating the game by 20 BB 100 just to break even. Now, admittedly, the games are very soft, and I'm still making a profit of like 28, 30 BB 100. So I really am kind of like crushing the game still because it's so weak, but that's, you know, normally playing at 1, 2, 2, 5. So if you're just learning the game, it's going to be quite hard. It's going to be quite hard to actually beat. So just make sure you're aware of that. There's actually, other options that are going to have much lower rake. But as I said, this is the only one I have available. On that turn, we're obviously just jamming. The SPR is so small, he's going to call that with any S's, or likely most flush draws as well. It's a little bit of a loose res, but this table is pretty juicy. And that is a pretty good flop. And this is unfortunate because he bets slightly more. That's not going to reopen the action for this guy. We don't really want to raise here with people behind and just be getting this in pre-rolled. The fact that we have 2 10s, though, is obviously in favor of potentially raising. I think we just call here and basically on a safe turn, then we jam. As I said, unfortunate because this guy's going to shove a lot. That is a safe turn. And the benefit also is, like, now we do have to raise. I guess we could just call again. We do block pads. It's just very likely at this point when he pots into 4 people and then bets on the turn that we are in fact up against the same hand, and we're very deep and we're in position, so we're just gonna call. And now we might get some value out of a missed flush draw or set. I am just gonna, I want to play this hand. Yeah, it's not good enough for LA. We're gonna jam with the nuts. And he folds. So we obviously got a very nice run out. But when you are that deep, it is not best advised to be stacking off with even the nut straight with no backup. Here we're gonna stab. with the 10 of hearts. And basically think to yourself, would you open raise that hand 1 or 2 positions prior? If the answer is yes, then it's probably good enough to ISO raise. Get called out with the big blind by the short stack. Yeah, I mean, this board's gonna hit his range pretty well, and when someone comes out with just a pot-sized bet on a pad board, I mean, they just... recreational players like this just always have it, but usually. So it's definitely okay to overfold in that spot. Pot-sized bet. I mean, we could just fold this hand, to be honest. Yeah, I guess pot-sized bet I'm just gonna fold. We're likely crushed. Don't know if any of our draws are good. Spots if I had it, a spade, I would potentially lead. Most people play pretty face up in low stakes and multi-way pots, and there's a really big edge that you can generate just by being quite aggressive in those spots. I am actually going to open this hand. This is pretty loose, but again, these are some pretty good tables. Nut gut shot, no diamond. Bad board for us. We have a pretty tight, or should have a pretty tight raising range out of the small blind, not with this trash that I raised with. But I feel like I have a good advantage over this player. And again, not going to do much against the pot size bet. When you have kind of players like that. Obviously, you want to play many pots against them, but playing in position is very beneficial, and they're just not going to protect their checking range, so you can stab pretty relentlessly. You can stab pretty relentlessly in position. I'm gonna stop building a pot here, given this is the win pot, and this guy hasn't 3-bet. I mean, I'm actually just gonna fold. As tight as that is. But this guy's been playing so tight, and his 3-betting range has us pretty crushed. Pretty turn-determined hand here. We do have some blockers. Packed off flush draw, it's pretty weak. We could bet fold it, but I think that in position, I'm just going to see some turns. It's obviously not great. I'm going to see bet here. And that we unblock the king. And the straight draws. Just going to fold here on the turn. Not blocking the club. Question is, what does he call with on the flop, and does he bet a king? We also unblock diamonds if you picked up that, so I think we do want to bet here. And what sizing we want to go, I'm not sure. He'll obviously have a lot of kings in his calling range, and we have a lot of bet here still in the turn. I'm just going to go for a soft 3/4 pot size bet here. He might jam with kings. Call it off. And that was a fun cooler. Don't think there's much else we could do there. That stack depth. I'm gonna open this in the cutoff. Kind of trashy. But again, want to play lots of pots with a small and big blind. Maybe you could say that we probably should just fold this, given this guy has 35 bigs. But when you flop trips, who cares? It's not a terrible board for our range, especially when the deuces are paired. It's unlikely that people have deuces in their range, so we're going to have overpair advantages, and we can get value here from pair and straight draws, diamond draws that aren't going to fold to a half pot size bet. But no action. The bottom right, this checks to us. Do we want to take a stab? We do block 2 of the straight draws. This guy snap checks. So that leads me to want to stab. I'm going to stab very aggressively in position. In multi-way pots, because people themselves play very face up and don't bluff that much. So they therefore expect other people to play the same way. So you can really stab pretty hard, and then any aggression you can just fold. So obviously here, this is a pretty standard fold. If we had the double gut shot, I could definitely see a check back and utilize the ace of hearts on, you know, flush runouts. Let's raise this up in the cuff. But, you know, our hand is very weak and just doesn't really get any value from a free card, so we decided to go ahead and stab. It's fine. And we flop the straight flush. This is generally going to be a board that we are checking pretty much off full range, so we have to protect that range with the absolute nizzles. And the question is, bet's large. Do we want to res? Do we want to res? It's just going to be kind of an ideal if we get like a board pairing card. He does bet pretty big. Let's res. Might even trigger some bluff with the ace of clubs. And just bluffing. You always feel like an idiot when you res it up with like the untouchable nuts, and they were just bluffing. But also when he has enough flush there, and then the turn pairs and it ends up getting checked down, it is unfortunate. So I think with the large sizing we're okay to go ahead and bet that. This on the turn we make the flush with an 8. Got called out with a big blind. I think we call turn a Palliway River. I'm pretty sure we're behind at this point, to be honest. I'm gonna complete with queens for half a big. Hoping for the check down, but it seems very unlikely. I just think we have a fold here. Blocking the 8 is kind of less valuable in this situation. Maybe if I had like ace king and then a 7-9 flush, but I think we can call down with some better hands. This is a hand I'll 3-bet against the button. It's pretty weak with the deuce 4. I don't think this would be a solver approved 3-bet. But I feel like people are making quite a lot of mistakes in 3-bet pots, and they're going to play pretty fit off fold. So there are a lot of spots that I will be able to c-bet on boards I have a strong range advantage, and I expect to not get played back at. But when you just flop the nuts, that also works too. I'm gonna go with a 1/3 sizing. I do want to be able to bluff pretty small in some of these spots. And then we'll polarize on the streets. GTO is going to be a pot-sized bet there on the turn, as we polarize, given that, you know, obviously we're starting to rep the nut flush, and it is going to be a pot-sized bet. In game, in real live play, I could definitely see a 1/3 size bet there again, just because people read way too much into that being weakness. So I'm going to fold this hand, obviously, just because it reopens the action. we are over the 30-minute mark here, so I'm going to start wrapping up the video. This will be one of the last hands with full suited queens. Didn't realize again, kind of misclicked there. Not ideal. Technically now we should call, and since it's the last hand, why not? But this is definitely not a 3-bet against under the gun. But now we find ourselves in this situation. And actually quite nice that he checks, because we might have had to stack off on this flop. We would have needed like whatever 28% equity. Let's just check it back, see what we get. Not a great time. Yeah. So now we're down to a max. Yeah. We do not have enough equity to, could be drawing dead. You don't see that many people check this board. But yeah, mostly just aces here, so we'll just fold. Oh, rivet the nuts. Okay, that's gonna wrap up the video. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe and continue watching the Crushing Small Stakes series, and help you guys move up in stakes. And also check out PLOpokercoaching.com. We got a bunch of articles on there helping you beat these stakes and move up in limits, and also a free consultation or individual poker coaching to really take your game to the next level. So check it out. All right, thank you everybody, and good luck at the tables.